If you got an ATV that's sit derelict and not run for a long time, almost guaranteed you're going to have pretty serious issues with the fuel system. This particular 2000 Yamaha Bear Tracker 250 hasn't run in many years. My suspicion is this thing probably didn't run very well before it quit running altogether. Most likely because the idle circuit and the carburetor got stopped up. Okay, once that got stopped up, well, people probably tried adjusting the throttle screw to get this to run on the main jet, and this thing ran stupid rich forever and finally just quit running altogether. And it sat for so long, eventually the O-ring went bad and the fuel shut off, and this thing just poured gas all over the entire engine. Obviously I did a lot of scrubbing, but I want to show you what you're going to have to do to get this working again, because you can buy replacement carburetors online. They're Chinese knockoffs of this Mikuni, but the chances of it working on you are pretty about as good as the old one working. The main reason is because they're not jetted right. So what I actually did was bought one of these carburetors to use for parts. Okay, and I took my original carburetor. I could not even get the pilot jet out of this carburetor, and even though it was completely stuck, I soaked it in a can of carburetor cleaner, which is what you're really going to need to get these things clean. Regular can of carburetor cleaner stuff's probably not going to work sufficiently. Okay, took me 3 soakings of this carburetor to get that pilot jet freed up and cleared out so it would pass fuel through it. I just want to show you real quick, talking about some stuff like this, where you got a little canister and you put the whole carburetor down inside of it. Now the problem with this is any gaskets, any O-rings, anything you put into this is going to destroy them also. So you have to take the whole carburetor apart before. In my case, all the gaskets were destroyed anyway. So what I have here is all the parts that you're going to be looking out to find what's wrong. When I first pulled the bowl off, first thing I noticed was the floats were all stuck shut because this needle seat, the rubber on the end of this tip is completely swollen and stuck inside of the seat. So there was no way this was even going to let fuel in anymore. Once I decided to take the top of the carburetor off, which is this piece right here, you have a diaphragm. And when I pulled the diaphragm out, look at the big gaping hole in it. Okay, this diaphragm comes permanently attached to this. They don't supposed to separate. I pulled it loose since it had the hole in it anyway. This sits inside this carburetor, has a needle that goes to the center of it. It sticks down here and actually goes into your main jet, and this slides up and down with that diaphragm. Obviously with a big hole in it, not going to work. This is another diaphragm that goes on the side here underneath this. Same thing. This one's not broken, but there's no flexibility left to this rubber. I believe this is a fuel, what they call a fuel enrichment circuit. So all of those gaskets I got from this carburetor, which I bought online. For like 50 bucks, I got a carburetor, I got the fuel shutoff, a whole shutoff valve for 50 bucks. So it was pretty good. I couldn't buy these parts. This part, original part from Yamaha, is like 180 bucks. You can buy aftermarket ones for like around 20. Then I'd also have to buy the needle seat. Also need the bowl gasket. Also need this diaphragm. And these 2 O-rings right here. These are something that most people are going to miss, because this slide mechanism here, excuse me, this slides down into these 2 screws come out. you can see I put the original ones out of the original carburetor back in here. They're like a tamper-proof. They have that, they're a Torx bit, but they have that hole in the middle, and they're Loctited in, so they're not easy to come out. But you got to remove this piece. The whole thing, that piece goes all the way through, and right here is the other end of it where your main jet connects. And you have to pull this piece out because there are 2 O-rings around that center piece right here. Okay, down inside of this tube there's 2 O-rings, and obviously you see the condition of them. These are not sealing anything. That means you're going to be losing all kinds of air or gas up through here, and your original carburetor is still not going to function right, even if you have it perfectly cleaned out. Okay, so like I said, this is your main jet. This is the pilot jet. This is where all of your idle circuit fuel passes through, right here. So it's a little teeny tiny hole. It takes very little to get this clogged up, and once you do, you're not going to idle anymore. This is your idle mixture screw, which after you put your carburetor in, you will definitely need to adjust this to tune it properly. On top of all that, the reason I did not use this carburetor is because right here, as you see right here, is another jet. Okay, so I get some light on this, you can see it. That's another jet. That is the air jet for your idle circuit. Okay, this is the air. This is the fuel for your idle. I could change my main jet, put the correct size in. I could put a jet in this one that looked pretty close to the original. I think it's like a number 42, if I'm not mistaken. But the original jet out of here has different threads than this carburetor. I could not change the idle air jet, and this thing is ginormous. So if I put that huge of an air jet with the same factory fuel jet, I would have been running extremely lean on an idle circuit. Probably would not have idled very well, and it probably had a real huge stumble going from idle to your main circuit. Okay, all these things are important, but the thing is, don't expect one of these carburetors to work. In fact, the needle, the floats in here, probably wouldn't have even let any gas in where they were set. Any of these things, you have to go through them drastically, take them apart, check everything in them if you're going to try to use one. My suggestion is use your original, clean it out real good, use all the gaskets from this kit. Okay, and after you're done, trust me, this thing runs beautifully, idle perfect, revs up perfect. All you need to do, no fuel leaks, no air leaks, everything in tip-top shape. This little 250, I'm shocked that it's pretty fast, if you ask me. Some people say they're slow. Maybe your carburetor's not tuned right if you think they're slow. So anyway, guys, this is just a little quick troubleshooting. Anytime you have a unit been sitting up this long, the ethanol that's all in this gas, it's going to destroy all your seals and your gaskets in your carburetor, and it's pointless to try to start it if it's been sitting for too long. Just take all this apart, go through it, clean it up, buy a cheap carburetor, use the gaskets out of it, and get your original Mikuni back working. Thanks for watching. See you later.